Hello and welcome to the Great Cosmic Shift. This is your host, Cyrus, and today's video we are actually going to have a message from the Archangel Lawrina. Now, Lawrina is my original contact when I began practicing mediumship and telepathy, and this occurred predominantly last year, although I had been practicing mental syncing and telepathy since about 2014, and a little bit before that, actually, to be technically specific. Now, Lawrina appeared in my life, and through her I went down a rabbit hole of learning about the multiverse and so many other concepts. Now, before we begin, I want to point out something. On the screen is an image of Lawrina. Now, how did I come to this image? It was manifested onto my computer, which means it just appeared on my computer. It was what we called an apportation or a digital apportation. Now, I never imagined those types of things would begin happening to me, but it actually did begin happening to me, and it really began happening to me last year. So in this case, we have an apported photo or a digital image. Now, if I reverse image search this, it indeed is online, and it's a digital image that was created by an unknown user that appears on a website where you can compose digital images of faces. So I was able to track it down online, and I end up with this image of Lawrina as she literally looks like, which is exactly what you're seeing on the screen right now. Lawrina comes from a higher density, and we would call that the afterlife. We would actually call it the sixth density because many souls from her world go to her sixth density when they die. Notice I said her world. She is not from our world. We are going into weird parallel reality types of situation. Now, I have a cup of coffee on hand so my throat doesn't get dry. Besides, I'm up working late, so I need the coffee. Before we continue and before I run the intro, I just want to say you might have arrived here from Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics. That channel is offline because my account was hacked. I will be petitioning Google to try to get me back online. But if you go onto that YouTube and you do something like leave a comment, I'd appreciate it for people to come to this channel because a lot of people still think I'm dead. Now, with that being said, if you also, I always want to bring this up. If you were a patron on my old channel and you didn't have a chance to correspond with me, and you didn't get like a reading or anything like that done that I was offering through my Patreon, then contact me at cosmicshiftawakening@gmail.com because I was indisposed for a while. Okay, with that said, I'd like to go ahead and jump into this, and if you hit that subscribe button, also really helps right now because we are redoing the channel, but it's okay. New audience, it's not just about metaphysics and the afterlife. We are going to the cosmic shift, the 5D shift, and direct communications with the realms beyond this one, using clairaudient telepathy, where it is literally like I have a little plant in my ear and I can hear whomever I'm in communication with as loudly and as crisp as I might be speaking to somebody on the phone. How is that possible? I'm very good at it. Other people can learn that skill as well, and you'll be learning about that in future videos, where you can also practice mental syncing because it's very strong in people right now. You don't have to be a super gifted medium to begin doing it. The trick is all about intent. If you are scared of doing it, if there is a lack of intent, then you will not be able to do it. But all that can be overcome, and you can begin experiencing the same communications I experience. What I guess sets me apart is I'm a journalist, so when I began having these communications, I was not satisfied just speaking to a soul collective. Like, many mediums, they stick in their lane. I'm like, no, I am going to go off and communicate to every crazy extraterrestrial, higher dimensional, magical reality force imaginable and get at the answers. And boy, oh boy, did that send me down a rabbit hole. With that said, we're going to begin right away with channeling Archangel Lawrina, who calls out rude Google reviewers, describes the nature of the physical versus the mental in the afterlife, and much more. All that is coming up ahead on The Great Cosmic Shift with Cyrus Kirkpatrick, and let's just see if we can begin. And we are back. Okay, so channel communication, Archangel Lawrina on parallel realities, the mental and physical nature of the afterlife densities, social problems in our world, including entitlement issues and people one-star reviewing national parks, as well as how her universe and reality are performing operations on our planet, all through direct clairaudient communication. As always, I can open these communications easily and take questions for her in the comments. This is off the Afterlife Topics Reddit page, by the way. You can also access the Facebook page, Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics, but the Reddit is a nice place where I just stick all my articles on. So if you want to be up to date and read channel communications to come up before they appear on this YouTube channel, you can check out the Reddit page. And I have fairly consistent updates now on the Afterlife Topics Reddit. That's r/Afterlife Topics. Now, let's continue. One more look at the manifested photograph that appeared, I should say digital art print that appeared mysteriously as a JPEG on my computer. Just one example of the types of miracles that occur. In fact, I can even open it as a open image new tab, and it's a nice one right there. So there is Lawrina, and we'll be learning more about her in the future as well. Now you see, funny enough, there are some, way back in the old days of my old channel, there was a lot of funny wires being crossed about who was communicating, what was happening, this, that, and everything. So if you're a long-time fan of this channel and there's confusion about that, just sweep it all under the rug at this point. Let's just say I have a big spirit team and people crossing wires and getting very confused. Back then, it was a confusing time. Lawrina is a member of my team that I later met in person because she materialized in bed with me for just a brief while, and I verbally had a conversation with her. So not only do I get actual images, thumbnail images supported, I also get like actual physical contact experiences and things like that. I mean, that's kind of what we're looking at. And I've always been a big fan of mediumship, physical mediumship, miracles, apportations. I just never knew it would happen to me. I never knew it would begin happening to me this intensely and in this way. But if people are wondering why I had an Arcturian spirit guide who at one point was saying that he was her, there's a very funny story about that. So maybe you came from the old channel, maybe you didn't. The reason for that was because my Arcturian spirit guide that I had since I was a baby, and we used to see this guy's UFOs fly by, the Arcturians, they're very beautiful ships. Put it in Google, you'll see what I mean. Lawrina is from a different universe. This is the thing. Arcturians are ancient, wise beings, but they do not deal with Earth Gaia magic and subjects like other universes. At least they didn't. And my old guide, Kilamaja, who's still my guide, thought that this woman was a manifestation of my imagination or his own imagination. They have very powerful subconscious minds that can split off and do their own things. He's a kind of Kilamaja, he's this little blue guy with all oval eyes. Kilamaja believed that this was a fictional creation of his that I was in communication with, because there's no way there's another universe where there was like a beautiful woman like this who's part of a group called the Angelic Order. There's no way that could be real. It must have been some kind of a manifestation of his own imagination, because he's my spirit guide and he must have like created a fictional narrative like while he was sleeping, and then I was communicating to one of his characters. That's what he thought. Eventually, Lawrina pretty much had to mentally, verbally kick his ass until Kilamaja finally shut the FUCK up and ended his like weird, crazy Arcturian existential crisis and came to the conclusion that yes, Lawrina is from a different universe and she is somebody I'm communicating with. We can file this one under Spirit Guide Drama. So now, since we've cleared up that funny story, and boy, oh boy, do I have a lot of funny stories about stuff that happens in the higher densities and miscommunications and bullshit cycles and one thing after another. Karmic arbitration cycles when I have some weird civilization that wants to come after me and they don't realize that our universe is like completely inaccessible to them, and then they end up getting their asses kicked because of something I put on the internet that they're afraid is going to shape the world to go into a direction that's different than the direction they want it to go into. Just one unbelievably weird thing that's happened to me after another, but I sure have a lot of friends by doing it, and that's what matters. So, with a little bit of background about my history with the Archangel Lawrina, my communications, let's continue on to her words, which is, of course, her own. This is her own essay that she has written entirely on her own, that I've been able to dictate. Okay, it begins. I would like to reintroduce myself to your community, Cyrus. First of all, a warm thanks to viewers of this channel and readers who are introduced to myself and others via the Afterlife Topics Facebook group and Reddit pages. As hard as it may be to believe, I am talking to my son Cyrus by mental syncing, spirit guide talk, they call us their children. It is easier to conceptualize a device in Cyrus's ear that allows him to communicate directly. This is how it is done upon the higher densities. This culture, these powers are arriving to your world via the 5th density shift. Remote communications like this are easy despite their limitations and will someday be commonplace upon your world as your planet migrates into a higher reality slowly but surely, bit by bit, until someday your world will become like my own. When some people last heard from me, I was on the old channel Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics. As you know, Cyrus's Google account was hacked. There were many people last year who wanted to hurt or even kill Cyrus due to his revealing of these abilities and communications. Because Cyrus does not have a huge audience, it unfortunately left him even more vulnerable. He went underground for 9 months for his own protection, which is true. It may be hard to believe that there are evil occult societies on your planet. However, there are. We must be logical. When people discover higher secrets, the supernatural world, do the ruthless winner-takes-all attitudes of Earth want to share those secrets with everyone and play nice? Or keep it secret to gain an advantage over others? It has always been this way. People can get targeted by evil societies because they bank on collective naivete that nothing exists that's strange, out of the ordinary. This is the programming in your society to make people believe life is completely mundane. It's even in your TV shows, X-Files, ideas that real life is your reality and everything we hear on the news is the truth. In Anderson Cooper we trust. That there are no such things as secrets, conspiracies, or even the supernatural, except in funny TV shows with catchphrases. It is all how the brainwashing takes place. As for Cyrus being targeted, he does not speak about this very openly. It had spirit guides like myself breathing into paper bags because we were so stressed last year. This is over now. Where am I? A higher density. My armor and outfit can be beautiful and angelic or practical for combat purposes, made of powerful alloys and materials not found on your world. Interesting the way imagination works. My image has been on your world, portrayed in certain media and video games. Artists and designers connect without realizing it to the collective consciousness that can even penetrate into other universes and pick up ideas and imagery. So Lawrina is talking about like this is where our imagination sometimes comes from. Her universe is not a typical universe. Her universe is quite a fantastic place. And there's been other accounts of her universe on the internet, by the way. I'll talk more about that in the future. I'm just noticing, looking around this article, that the spacing is all screwed up. I thought I fixed it too. Okay. So where were we? Okay. Okay. Okay, so as she was saying, I am the Angelic Order. I have been promoted since last year. I am known as an Archangel now. Pretty nifty, right? Our world is one where there is an abundance of magic and things beyond your comprehension. What is it like to be around actual magical elements of life? Magic is everywhere, obviously, yet on our world, angels fly with wings, beings from distant corners of the multiverse converge, and so much is too spectacular for words compared to your reality. Yet even so, our world experienced a great shift, as it never used to be so magnificent. And I just bit my tongue. I will survive. Before, the Angelic Order were a militia movement, as I will explain later. The coming of literal manifestations of divinity caught everyone by absolute surprise, shock, and awe. And now our world is transformed, much as your world is slowly transforming too. There is much your people do not understand about life in higher realities. Cyrus, in another reality from my own, found me as he was so sick from the long-haul after effects of that terrible virus. Even across realities, we made contact and I became his spirit guide in August 2020. I did not even know where he was or why he was on a world that looked so much like one of our own, yet was so different. As Cyrus has touched on before, he first began contact with us last May through simple methods like dowsing rods. To our astonishment, Cyrus began talking to us directly by spelling out words in an alphabet through the rods that we could mentally control from his hands. This led to full, direct mental communications and at one point a brief but heartfelt physical meeting between myself and Cyrus when I materialized into his apartment, August 2021. Okay, so this is Cyrus. I just want to make a quick side note here that the copper dowsing rod method is still a true method. It is still very effective to begin the process of learning to mentally sync and to have consistent paranormal abilities. Now, let me put it this way. In my work, people have read my old books, Understanding Life After Death, The Afterlife and Beyond. You know that I tend to rant about the closed-minded skeptics. The copper rod phenomenon was so consistent and so amazing. I'm like, shit, I can go and why don't I go get that? What do they call it? Oh, the Randy $1 million challenge. Listen up. None of that is ever, and I don't know if that's still active, but none of that was ever designed to actually get at the truth. I could go to, the open-minded University of Arizona down the street and show them consistent results, but people are closed off by so many layers of closed-minded cognitive dissonance that they just cannot comprehend these things. It's like they're stuck in, my team calls it the anti-magic perspective. The anti-magic perspective is one where a personality has no ability to comprehend that things are phenomenal, powerful, divine, mystical, where they are completely opposed to it and they do not have any way to comprehend that it's real, and they are adamant that anybody involved in that spectrum of existence, which is so abundant elsewhere in the cosmos, has some kind of psychological deficiency. People stuck within the anti-magic prism of life, you will never be able to convince them of anything. You could walk in there with Lawrina with angel wings, wouldn't mean anything. They're clip-on wings. Everything has a rationalization. Everything has an explanation. Nothing is real if it's paranormal. I am told that this is a psychological illness that affects basically a percentage of the population of Earth, something like 0.25%, maybe close to 50%. So no, even if I can use copper dowsing rods and demonstrate this type of thing in real time, it will never convince those people, no matter what, because it's mental illness. That's a quick Cyrus rant. Let's go back to what Lawrina is saying. Many strange mysteries of your world can be explained by the topic of higher realities, other universes, or even parallel realities. For example, I want to draw attention to an important area of work, and this is key, known as the Secret Space Program. There are important YouTube channels on your world that are easy to chuckle at, if not for their profound truth. One is called Super Soldier Talk. It concerns so much that occurs in my universe, including our lower density version of our own Earth that is akin to yours. Many important insiders reveal and corroborate the information I share with Cyrus, including the nature of the Cabal, the secret space programs, and so much more, which were Cyrus's first areas of curiosity when we began communications last year. Now, this is me writing an edit. To clarify, Lawrina is explaining how so many people on the internet telling these fantastic stories about being taken up into space are people with parallel reality lives from her universe. These are some fantastic stories, by the way, who are remembering events that did not actually happen on our world. This is an entire field of study where people have mysterious memories of being part of secret space programs and life among very exotic ETs like the Blue Avians. Of course, I'm speaking of like Corey Good and let's say the show Cosmic Disclosure, which you can find that, by the way, on, I believe Gaia pulled that whole show because of a legal dispute. You can find Cosmic Disclosure, that whole series, on basically on BitTorrent, which I do recommend checking out because there's disinformation in there for sure, but there's also a lot of real stuff, and it connects directly to where Lawrina is coming from. And I think there's many things brought Lawrina to me on a spiritual, divine level. And I also had a strong connection to her universe because I was watching those shows and learning about something that I knew wasn't really happening in our world. I knew this was something of a parallel reality, but I also knew it was real. So she says there is so much to be said about that subject, and much of it will be revealed in Cyrus's forthcoming book that I'm very excited about. In fact, we all are, which is called The Cosmic Shift of Mankind. This book that Cyrus is writing is an anthology of communications from the breadth of spiritualism to the higher density realities that we arrive from. This message comes to humanity through my channeler Cyrus, at a time when we are making our physical presence known upon your world as well. It was never before possible for my universe to make headway into your universe. Now the Angelic Order can make full contact. For now, though, it must be done underground. An Angelic Order operation was carried out this week in Persia, otherwise known as Iran. Our world also contains an iteration of Persia, although our parallel reality universe is very different in its structure, history, and culture. The spirit of Iran or Persia remains. I have family who are Persian, and ironically it is Cyrus's namesake. This country, wherever it manifests in whatever reality, means a lot to us. And so we initiated an operation that incited a massive uprising. A woman was murdered. This woman was on the inside with us. She was set up in the exact situation that would result in her brutal murder by thugs of the Shah for violating a dress code. She is fine now. This was done to create the worst possible nightmare for the Iranian regime. Further, we used mental syncing to incite the people to stage an uprising with the backing of God and angels, us, which is very handy when you have the Angelic Order communicating to people on a mass mental scale to shift things on a political, geopolitical level. Next, we snuck in on-the-ground operatives to inspire people to take their protests even further by torching Iranian federal buildings, which is what was happening this week. It's, by the way, late September that this video is out. Late September 2022, I should say. This is an example of how we operate and the operations underway on your world to get some of the most dangerous parts of your society under control. And do not even get me started on the mass exodus from your world of souls that were deemed by forces higher than even us to be sociopaths. Many disappeared. So many Russian military disappeared that Putin this week implemented an emergency draft of Russian civilians to compensate for the loss, and also punish what he thinks were, quote, defectors. This situation is being monitored carefully by us. Currently, we are preparing underground operations on your world in secret to finish a roundup of underground military bases. Now, this is the September 26th. I am told that this operation is now finishing. She wrote this for me a few days ago. These are terrifying operations put in place by an occult society known by its acronym of SADOS. It is reminiscent of the vast bases the same cabal established in our universe and has been recounted by many insiders of the secret space programs, such as great men like Tony Rodriguez, Daryl James, Johann Fritz, and many more. These men are unaware they are recounting memories of a parallel universe, a parallel reality of your Earth with its own higher density structure of existence. How are there other universes? Parallel realities to Earth? This is very complicated and best saved for a very different presentation. I can assure you there are not many parallel realities to Earth. I inserted a couple. But the universes are endless. So what that means is there is other Earths out there. There may be another you in those other Earths. Yeah, let that one sink in for a minute. And so Cyrus ends up bringing in our crazy universe. And so Cyrus ends up bringing in our crazy universe. That was my throat catching on something just then, and I think it might have been a piece of something in my coffee, like undissolved sugar cube, but I'm back. Okay. Into his repertoire of magical spirit friends. By now, many understand these types of realities, universes that are your afterlife worlds. We also exist quite physically to you, with a few variations. Ultimately, we are less physical though. Why? We are higher density. People who die on your world, they notice right away. Things manifest in our reality by thought in a more fluid way than your reality. How is that possible? Well, this is Cyrus talking. I'm going to say it's because this is a higher density universe, a higher density world. We are the highest or the thickest, most physical type of existence you can find. And I'm told a lower density universe like ours is not the standard. So we're really in it. We really signed up for just the bottom of the barrel, didn't we? The Angelic Order started as a mercenary corps connected to the Greek Orthodox Church. A whole universe away, the Grecian civilization also exists, and even your world had awareness about us. Some of your churches and temples in Greece keep their secrets, including the presence of a faction of the Grecian society with great power across another version of their society and planet, very far away, unreachable except through mental powers, dreams, telepathy, and resonance with similar souls. Our group, the Angelic Order, therefore tracks many things and understands closely the happenings of our society. Our world was always the afterlife reality for our lower density Earth. Confusing, right? Well, bear with me. As such, many arrive up to our reality, amazed at the differences. Now, this might not be your world, but our civilizations are extremely similar, and so much can be learned and contrasted. So, clarification by Cyrus. Let's see if I can take a sip of coffee without the coffee attacking me. This whole confusing story is that Lawrina and the Angelic Order exist on an Earth with ties to a separate parallel reality version of our world, down to many of the same souls from here who exist there as well. People from that crazy altered version of Earth die and move up to, quote, heaven, which is Lawrina's world called Shaynara. When I discovered all this, I could barely understand it until I wrote it all out and just went over my notes again and again. Basically, I made contact with an actual parallel reality in another universe. And it sure is fun when that parallel reality starts to make contact, which it did with me. And let's just say a lot of losers would never ever be able to believe that even the smallest level of any of this story could ever be true, including idiots in my own life, who, if you have people in your life who are gonna call you names, call you crazy, or make fun of you because of the work you're doing when it's coming in from a higher reality, these are not people that you want in your life. Just, it's a little public service announcement. But that spirit, that soul, I'm actually told, relates to a concept called original sin, choosing the fruit of knowledge over the fruits of divinity and magic. The fruit of knowledge says everything has a rational explanation, everything can be controlled. Yeah, you don't really want people like that in your life. Lawrina continues. You see, a higher density can be more a realm of the mind. It is not the spirit or astral realities as is commonly perceived, however, it is a more fluid existence. We have dealt with many crazy situations. Sometimes a person's apartment will be the subject of a major mental fluctuation. Even in our beautiful world, many from lower realities ask, how can someone suffer from mental illness? Oh, it just happens. Great regrets, acts of cruelty that beget a conscience that arise, and so much more. The enigma of souls, as they call it. Because I'm always wondering, if Shaynara is the most beautiful planet I've ever seen, how can someone be living on a world like Shaynara and have a mental issue and go kooky? They tell me it just happens. A lot less than here, but basically they say shit happens. Until you reach a certain point, they call it karmic ascendance, which means it's like you reach a point of, like, let's say, awareness, understanding of yourself. Some call it the psychic maturity scale, where this stuff, it's not going to happen to you. That's the purpose of self-development, to get to that point. Lawrina says, sometimes a soul in such a state, well, here's the difference between worlds. I recall a case where someone was living in a normal flat, and normal is a loosely defined term at times here. And their whole environment matched their mental reality. The paint on the walls was peeling. Everything took on a gray or brownish, rusty, dirty tone. A bizarre feeling swept through the place, a musky scent, strange objects everywhere. There were knives all on the floor that I think he imagined cutting himself with, so they just manifested with his blood on them. He was in his bedroom, but he looked strange now. Like his body was just covered by skin that was black and charred almost. Staring up at his ceiling fan from under his blankets, he smelled terrifying. This presence was affecting neighboring tenants, so we had to take action. This is the kind of stuff the Angelic Order does. They get called up. It's so comic book. They literally show up in like a 1920s like Volkswagen Beetle or something, like, then they walk out with armor on or suits on with guns, and they go and investigate things. It's so comic book. We knew it was a more extreme situation than usual, yet these types of cases do arise on Shaynara. We did some special work to inhibit his consciousness and separate him. After we did this, he returned to normal. His flat looked normal again after he was removed. The knives and weird things on the floor were gone, demanifested. This man later died, as he awakened in a state of shock and terror, fearful angels were going to judge him. Although at that time anyway, we were not literal angels. We were soldiers of the Greek military, as we've been for so many years and still are. So at the Angelic Order, where she's from, it's the Greek military, but a different version of Greece. that apparently our Greeks, especially some of the monks and the people in the Greek Orthodox Church, she claims they actually know about her, and they know about, well, not her maybe, but they know about the Angelic Order, which exists in a different Earth. Yeah, we're in the realm of, like, I don't want to say occult, but we're in the realm of secret societies, magic, and just, yeah. Okay, so he perceived us differently. He perceived them to be like literal angels judging him. His soul now fell away again into another bardo state. Like in this case, she means a literal, like astral reality. We could do nothing more except his mental deterioration was making others around him suffer. All of this sounds like the spirit world, the astral plane as it's known. Interesting. I would say we are all a part of the spirit world, just different gradients of reality, where mental reality meshes into manifested reality, our technical terminology. However, our reality is not the astral world nor the soul collectives. This is the true reality beyond yours, where life progresses beyond the world of the mind. It is also intermixed and often confused by people from worlds like yours who visit us, sometimes while sleeping and appear even momentarily around us. Your terminology is astral projection, but we often call it soul travel. We practice this as well. Interestingly, Cyrus had been to our universe before. In 2015, he wrote of a journey into a sublime version of India with a beautiful Hindi couple who met him on a road. He wrote about this in his book, Understanding Life After Death. This occurred on my world in our India and was described by him as a beautiful or heavenly realm. New arrivals can often feel this way. In fact, there are near-death experience stories quite popular from your world where people have been taken by soul groups to our world before returning to their bodies due to cardiac arrest. On my son Cyrus's former podcast, Afterlife Topics, he interviewed a man named John J. Davis. This man was actually taken to explore an integration reality for new arrivals during his NDE, which it turns out was actually our reality. I was very surprised by this. It was on our world in a spiritual temple outfitted with Akashic technologies and so much more, as souls are easily manifested into worlds like our own before sometimes being brought back. Although our worlds are so far apart and our reality is not the common place that people in your world go to when they die, we are quite linked in mysterious ways. So basically, she comes from a different world that when we pass away, we have our own fifth density planets. It's not her world, it's not those higher realities, but sometimes her parallel reality, her parallel universe actually meshes with ours, and occasionally there's spirit teams and soul groups that we have from there, and sometimes people actually have near-death experiences where they get brought into those higher densities. Those NDEs often are missing the fact you got this beautiful, luxurious reality, but then if you were to go 20 miles inland, there might be a 6-density McDonald's. Like seriously, they bring over the stuff from our reality or their reality. They manifest it up, and life almost seems normal like our world, but it's not. But if you look at it, it's like it seems so similar. Cyrus early on was amazed by how we can move, even soar through the air. To Cyrus, viewing our world, it was another planet, another universe, another reality. And it looked like a comic book adventure. The most amazing thing he'd ever seen, and it made him desire greatly to experience it, which he did. In Cyrus's young heart, he is unsure he will anytime soon. I say no. Even the gates to our universe will be open soon. It will be possible for those with understanding of such topics to navigate other realities in the physical world around you. It would not be necessary to die and be brought in through the power of the silver cord to do so. All gates will be opened in time. Sadly, we must remain in secret, for the powers of the collective consciousness of your sad, debilitated world are so unstable. If we were to reveal ourselves openly at this present moment, late September 2022, it could cause wide-scale panic. We are performing operations on your world, yes, but the barometer of difference would be appearing on the internet, taking questions appearing for a Skype interview on this channel or maybe on Super Soldier Talk, haha, yet for real. Something this definitive, this provable would upend people's lives so much it would be mass hysteria, mass panic. So we must remain mysterious, enigmatic, a sight to behold, but an urban legend. The nature of visitors from afar. And the day will come when Cyrus will be very surprised, much like the morning I appeared in bed with him for only a few short but historic moments. Your world suffers from a great mental disturbance. Fluctuating personalities, unhappy people with choices to correct their lives who instead choose suffering. Bizarre philosophies of materialism, atheism, and determinism. That's my favorite. People who deny anything by virtue of it being wonderful. Again, it's an anti-magic perspective. I was trying to understand the best example, and while on your world, I realized something perfect. Yes, Google reviews, where entitled, terrible people can make complaints about things. You see, we have both the Google Corporation and Google reviews on our world. How? Don't ask. Parallel realities, higher densities, things carry over. In fact, it's very profitable to recreate a company in a world like ours, even from your world. That way, people who pass away and make it to us have a sense of familiarity, which is called integration, and is very important. We spirit guides are often the ones helping people who pass away in worlds like yours to adjust to a reality like ours. As I was saying, it is unimaginable Google reviews to be used the way it is used upon your world. Your planet is obsessed with corporatism and uses slogans like "the customer is always right" to justify entitled, terrible behavior by people with no lives who believe they are the kings and queens of reality. But why? What is wrong with your people, Cyrus? We found Google reviews for a park called Joshua Tree National Monument between California and Arizona. Oh, I've been here before on my planet. Yes, our worlds are very similar. What is wrong with this place? Nothing. Now, Cyrus, I'd ask you to bring up some of those reviews on Google and filter by lowest rating first. I'm going to leave the rest up to Cyrus to comment, as in truth I pulled this idea of Cyrus's mind somewhere, sensing his frustration by people who never stop complaining, never appreciate life, divinity, live in their little reality bubbles, attack anyone who is different or disagrees, and is an absolute puppet of programming put in place by evil forces, which includes a lot of people, incidentally, I used to have to boot off my old channel. Edit by Cyrus. I'll check out what Lawrina is suggesting on my YouTube show, which is where you are right now. I'll go over this whole essay she wrote and provide some of my own comments. Okay, that's what we're doing. Enjoy the rest of this presentation. If you are watching on YouTube, I'm Lawrina, born Casual Lynn Pamela in 1903 in Turkey. Not your Turkey. Another Turkey in another world much like your own, where so many souls exist in both of your worlds at once. Ah, yes, that's right. I was born in your world too. Your reality. That version of my life went in a very different direction, and it did not last. In my reality, I had a new chance, a new existence that led to my joining an order of sacred divinity. So this is my final message. The nature of parallel realities is to maintain, shall we say, nature of parallel realities is to maintain, preserve lives, and to provide second chances. It is the way higher powers preserve a planet like yours from destroying itself and to reduce heartbreak in so many ways. Something for you to digest and think about while you laugh at some of these Google reviews. So, as I was saying, so that's a lot. I actually was stumbling there because, again, it's like, what Lauren is trying to say. The reason parallel realities exist is to preserve a reality. So if something bad happens to it one way or another, it will all stay preserved. Now, let's take a look then at what she's talking about. So I pulled up Joshua Tree National Park on Google Reviews, and this is just great. Okay. First review by Kristen Ruiz. I was not impressed. I've seen more Joshua trees at Lake Mead in Grand Canyon. Cool rock formations, and that's about it. Okay, so literally this woman is so entitled that she's going to Joshua Tree, one-starring it because she's not impressed by Joshua Tree National Park. Okay. Arturo Javier. Okay, this one, he doesn't like the pricing. I'm going to give that one a pass. Okay, Daniel. What is the big hype? I could have stayed in Santa Cruz and went to my rock climbing gym and had a better time. There are too many trees. Why is this a national park? Don't go unless you live in LA. And this gets 4 upvotes. Oh, okay. So since when were national parks something that the customer can complain about? She's basically saying that we're at the bottom of the barrel of stupid, entitled, spoiled, bratty behavior that they would call unsophisticated or even psychopathic behavior. And here it's all on display. Google reviews. Okay. Oh, this is great. Beautiful park, but no electricity, water, or television reception, phone, or internet. So they're going off to a national park and they were complaining because there was no television, and then this gets 9 upvotes. Harrison says, extremely hot and boring. Limited attractions available. It is the least interesting national park I ever visited. No, it's not. I've been there. If you want to know what it looks like inside the park, just drive along the country roads. Nope, not true. Okay, yeah, people complaining about the price, I get that. I don't even know what to think. Are we actually, are we just descending backwards to caveman days? Harry says, I climb tall rock and then fall off tall rock. What the fuck? Okay. Okay. This guy says it's very Orwellian, the staff. Okay, I'm going to give that one a pass. Okay. There's no space to park. Okay, well, alright. Okay. Pete Jarvis says, 60 miles of curvy road for no reason and brown landscapes. Nothing to see except boulders. Very disappointed, misleading. I didn't see U2. Okay, so Vincent didn't see his favorite band U2 there, so yeah. Okay. Racist park rangers. Okay. Okay. Sudesh says, saw more Joshua trees on the way than inside. Man, I don't know, guys. I don't think they've seen the same. Yeah, I almost want to just go to Google Images and look at. Just look it up yourself. You'll see what Joshua Tree looks like. It doesn't. It's just completely baffling. There is some interesting sceneries, boulders including Skull Rock, cholla cactuses, and plenty of Joshua trees. No match for other parks like Yosemite. Much overrated. So apparently national parks are now in competition with each other. It's like Pokemon. We're gonna pit Joshua Tree against Yosemite because this is called the spirit of the earth. Everything is a competition. Everything is about trying to get on top. Everything is about being entitled, demanding the best, and worshiping money. And where does it manifest? Oh, Google reviews. Just a bunch of rocks. Try not to die or get lost. Horrible national park, ugly scenery. Don't waste your time coming here. There's more to do in Los Angeles. Okay, no one likes the prices. And I agree, $30 for a car, I was like, come on. People one starring it for no reason because they got lost. Okay, you're not going there just to see a Joshua tree, Martin. You're going there for the whole, like, the whole, the whole land, the entire park. You're going there for that reason. You're going there to experience all of nature like that. Like, you're not going there just to look at a Joshua tree. Okay, so now we have troll. I met Joshua and his tree wasn't very impressive. Not sure what all the hub was about. I hate the desert and I'm never going back. Horrible. Drove 5 hours. Look, Michael Boyle. There is no tree named Joshua. Very disappointed. 1 star. So this is somebody, I think, who was reading these reviews. Who's just adding to the insanity. The insanity of the low density Earth. It's all here. And there is your example. That this is what's wrong with your planet. Crazy people. Now, what happens when these crazy people die? Do they get to go to Shannara, Lawrina's world? The answer is no, because there's whole institutions that monitor what kind of souls get brought up. And if you're a soul like this, you get tossed off to wherever you want to go when you die. Usually a soul collective, where you get to be around a bunch of whiny crybabies in some fake hollow heaven where they all convince themselves they're the god kings and queens of reality. They all live in their soul collective and sit around in their little astral spirit reality. And what they do is they, float around up there, pretend that they're in the one true heaven, and complain about things constantly and get into our heads and manifest into our homes and like become poltergeists. So that's where these types of souls end up. So yeah, that's our life, that's our world. All right, I'm sick of this. I'm gonna go back to playing Rygar. All right, anyway, I'll see you guys on the next episode.